In a world where magic is predominant, where social status is determined by how much magic power you possess, in a world where dragons flying is the norm, there exists a boy who believes solely in pumping iron. Regro Burndead sits in his living room using magic to serve himself some tea when his son, Mash Burndead, pulls the door off its hinges just to get in. They live deep in the forest, far away from other humans. In a failed attempt to fix the door, Mash shatters it into 3 parts. He asks his father why all his workouts are physical, but the man avoids the question. Regro goes out for a bit and instructs Mash never to wander into the city. Immediately, he leaves. Mash dashes into town to buy some cream puffs. On his way back, the wind blows off his hood, and all the villagers are stunned that Mash has no marking on his face. The news begins to spread until it gets to the ears of Brad of the Magic Police, who meets Mash already in an altercation. Regro interrupts and dashes off with Mash on his shoulder. Brad uses his magic to send a tail after them. Regro scolds Mash when they get home, but Mash apologizes immediately. He's asked to repeat his training routine and does so without question. Brad bursts into Regro's house with 2 other officers, all in search of Mash. They drill Regro and try forcing him to give up his son, but he holds out. Mash rounds up his workout in 5 minutes. He heads home only to overhear Brad and the others. Regro reminisces on how much being called a failure of a human brought him near to suicide and how he found Mash rejected by the roadside as a baby. Regro screams for Mash to run away, and Brad keeps harassing him for it. Mash doesn't listen. He breaks down the door again and lands a blow that sends the officer through the wall of their house. He rips off Terry's uniform and slaps him into oblivion. He's left to face Brad, who uses a high-level spell called the Nalcom Pass. Mash simply slaps the spell away. This gets Brad more furious. He increases the intensity of the Nalcom Pass, and Mash slaps it to the side again. Brad keeps the attacks coming, but Mash just plays with them. He picks up his father's wand and uses it as a javelin to pierce through Brad's magic circle and cut his cheek. He drops to his knees in disbelief. Even Regro is surprised at Mash's strength. Brad offers Mash a deal for the safety of his father. The deal is for Mash to become God's chosen one, the Divine Visionary, all by enrolling in a magic school and being chosen there to show God and society's acceptance. All Brad wants is the fortune and prestige associated with it, but Regro tries dissuading Mash. Brad goes on to list the disadvantages of backing out of the chance, and Mash agrees to the terms immediately after. Despite his father's despair, Mash promises to come out victorious so they can live in peace again. Mash tries to get into Easton Magic Academy, a school that is notorious for its difficult entrance exam and less than 3% admission rate. Claude Lucy spies down from a window at all the applicants for Easton, from sons of politicians to those of magic police officials. He's stumped when he notices Mash pumping iron on the field. He's more enraged to see him reading an exercise book. Brad and Regro disguise themselves poorly and follow Mash to the examination. Thanks to Brad, Mash was given a fake scar on his face just to blend in. Lucy abandons the window to make a flashy appearance before the students. Other students are starstruck except Mash, who wonders how hot Claude must have felt coming out from the flashy fire. Lucy swallows his thoughts. He uses magic to emanate desks alongside exam papers and pens from the sky. Mash is still not impressed. The test begins, and students notice the papers are enchanted with Lucy's magic. They have to dispel it before they can answer. Mash uses strength as his loophole from then on, finding one way or the other to pass each test to the disgust of Claude Lucy. Lucy summons a maze with traps in it and sets a 30-minute timer that whoever finishes it in time will have passed. Lemon Irvine asks Mash for a collaboration, and he agrees. All the traps along the way seem to only catch Lemon. It turns out she's not helpless when she cuffs Mash, trying to stop him from reaching the exit. Mash breaks free instantly, leaving Lemon to eat his dust as he runs away from her. Lemon is ambushed by a riddling maze monster. Her fear cripples her before she's attacked. Mash returns and defeats it with one punch. Lucy is happy that time is almost up, but is surprised yet again when Mash breaks a straight path till he comes out of the maze. The other applicants aren't having it. They begin to protest for Mash to go home. Lemon opens up about Professor Lucy, asking her to get in Mash's way so he doesn't pass. Lucy admits it with no remorse and promises to fail both of them. He asks them to challenge him if they think they can win, but Mash simply snaps his wand mid-spell. The ruckus is interrupted by Headmaster Wahlberg. He takes over the rest of the exams from Lucy and asks him to see him later. The headmaster teleports Mash as the first student for the final interview. He's questioned to test his intent. Headmaster Wahlberg threatens to Mash that there are things that raw power cannot defeat. He summons a spell that transferred Regro's soul into a doll and lowers an anchor to plunge it. Mash tries punching it, but he's not powerful enough. Wahlberg watches to see what Mash will do. Mash simply puts both his hands beneath the anchor, ready for an endurance contest. The headmaster is impressed and withdraws his spell with an apology. And so, Mash gets admitted into Easton Magic Academy. Mash's first class is how to open locks with magic, but he pisses off his sensei when he uses brute strength. Despite the pages of Finn aims not to end up as roommates with the likes of Mash, the universe declines the request and he ends up with Mash. Mash questions him on how to be the divine visionary, and Finn explains that he has to collect gold coins from the school, work of all kinds. That despite coins gathered, it's pointless if you can't keep good grades. Mash borrows a broom from Finn for their next class. Their sensei gives instructions for the class to channel magic into the broom and command it to fly. Mash tries it, but the broom doesn't even float. He's mocked by a classmate, and Mash matches the ground using force to propel the broom to his hand. The student makes a bet with Mash to obey him if he loses the broom riding race, and vice versa. Mash agrees. As soon as the sensei gave the go signal, Mash was at the finish line. This blew the sensei's mind, as she said Mash had created a new record time. Turns out, he threw the broom first and then jumped to mount it midair. He stuck the landing too well for anyone to notice. Mash calls off the bet out of pity. They're interrupted by Lloyd Cavil, who uses magic thread to tie up his friend's mouth. Lloyd is impressed with Mash and requests his friendship. They're broken up by D-Sensei before Mash can say anything. Lloyd later beats up his friend for losing to Mash like that. Mash asks Finn why everyone seems to be scared of Cavil, and was told it's because Cavil is the son of a high-ranking member at the Bureau of Magic. He gets warned of possible expulsion if he should get on Cavil's bad side, and even further torment after. Cavil waits for Mash at the agreed spot, but he never shows because he's busy making cream puffs. The next class is on potions, but Mash's textbook seems to be messed with. Cavil approaches him about the day before, and tells him he has connections that can help him become the divine visionary, but only if he does everything he asks. Mash agrees innocently, and does every demeaning thing Cavil asks. He goes to class the next day, and his textbook is torn again. Goes to Cavil and his team had blackmailed Finn into doing it and want him to burn Mash's clothes next. Finn summons the courage to say no, and Cavil doesn't take it well. He starts to beat on Finn. Mash finds Finn strung up and bleeding, with Cavil smiling over him. Finn confesses to the textbooks and apologizes to Mash amidst tears. Mash is pissed off and bashes Cavil's head into the ground, asking him to apologize to Finn. It dawns on Mash that he might have jeopardized his admission just as Vice Principal Farman arrives at the scene. The Vice Principal twists the situation based on status, planning to lie against Finn and Mash, but Mash isn't having it. He sinks his knee into the Vice Principal's face. The man still hurls threats at Mash, and so begins to bury him just to prove that expulsion is the only power the Vice Principal has over him. The man begins to beg for dear life. Mash gets summoned before Headmaster Wahlberg. He's presented with an order from the Bureau of Magic to expel Mash. The headmaster, on the other hand, burns the order to ashes, telling Mash how much he would like for him to keep caring for people and acting on it. He begins to advise him on how to become a divine visionary, and promising to handle the Bureau of Magic, even the Vice Principal. And so, Mash got off with no punishment, and the regard of the entire student body. Tom Knowles invites Mash to join him for a game of Duel, and doesn't take no for an answer. The next day, Mash tells him again that he's bad with broom riding, but they pay him no mind. The match starts, and Mash is left standing on the field, helpless. Thanks for joining us on our anime recap journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. See you next time.